win once. Both teams currently in the doldrums a little bit. Today is the day to show which one still sticks above each other despite everything else that's going on around them.
I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic seeing the Empire VG2 on the top of the screen there. Anyone who, thinks all the way back to that 20 round, how many rounds was it? Something massacre.
22, was it?
22, was it? It was just, it was one of the best LAN moments I think I'd ever had as a viewer. And I definitely feel that that's the kind of vibes I'm getting today. However, it is on Consulate. We have to point out the obvious here. G2 beat BDS in the mini major on this particular map, probably quite convincingly. If you did go back on the score, I think it was a 7-3 or 7-4 or something to that effect. So if you can beat BDS on a map and as convincingly as they did, granted maybe that particular matchup wasn't so popular or great for BDS, it gives you a huge leg up against a team like Empire. So if I'm Empire right now, I'm feeling a little nervous going into this. Ooh.
But don't forget also that we saw them, well, this is Empire, sorry, absolutely stomp Rogue on it back in day one, 7-2. And I mean, admittedly, context is devoid of score. When you see a scoreline, you don't always, a score line, you don't always know the story or the context to that game. That wasn't Rogue that we saw turn up last Monday on Convince. And that is not at all to take away from Empire's achievement, but that was a very different Rogue they played against on that day. So if you're looking at it and saying they've got 1 win and 2 losses this season, the only win coming on Consulate, and even then it's with a small little asterisk in the corner saying not quite against the full strength opponent, I am worried for them. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that Rogue in their current form, we definitely put an asterisk next to, because we're going, do we really know if this is them at their full potential? They've been under a lot of stress, but nonetheless, we'll jump into the first round here on Consulate, always on the sledge. And I think the great thing about having our My ban is that you only have to then worry about the ADSs of the Jaeger, which is great because they can be cooked quite easily unless you've got 3 up on yellow stairs. But they've decided to go lobby first. And which team the other day, maybe even yesterday, we watched a team go lobby first and it didn't really work out too well for them. So, interesting.
Yeah, it was the weird one yesterday. I can't remember which team it was we watched. I remember you saying there was 2 players on the team that were inside a lobby and just got shut down inside, what, the opening 60 seconds or so, and it was like, nothing more to say about that. In fact, I think it was Giants. Hey,
it was. There we go. Let's go.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. So that's a small example. You're probably not going to see a repeat here, but we are starting on that downstairs. And I think we know how this tends to play out by now. Jess, if you've seen Consulate before, things don't change all that much. You'll see the defenders going for an upstairs hold to begin with, looking to drop down later on, as assuming, of course, the attackers even get control of the upstairs. Otherwise, from this position above the B site, you can use the angles through the floor onto the main doorway to make it really, really difficult for the attackers to be able to go for a plant inside of the main site. And trying to do things like rappelling through the window inside piano, bit of a risky tactic if you ask me.
Empire's always been known as the team that likes to push through admin, and I don't know why that's always been them. Even with roster changes, that's something that they've never really removed from their particular attacking strategy. And as a result, we'll see it jump out, but guess what? Shepard's ever so ready for it. I actually thought Shepard was the one aiming across from the rappel, but it was him watching Visa double doors instead, and he's going to be able to protect his teammate of Dan. Always gets another gunfight, and it'll be Care to Ricchetti this time. And it was those 2 fraggers of G2 that can net those first 2 opening kills. And well, that's a pretty good start here for Empire, but it did come out of those 2 players peaking very aggressively.
I was just about to say, aggression was the start of this round. It seems to be the play for the side of G2. And even with Virtue a second ago trying to peek through Coffin once again to try and catch someone inside of admin, that could have been 3 members they lost very, very quickly in trying to be aggressive into holding an area of the map, the top floor, an area that you don't need to hold. Like, you're defending the ground floor. You can afford to drop away like Virtue has now done, left the top floor entirely, has got himself way down inside of the basement, which opens things up for the side of Empire to start getting to work and opening things up. What's going to be really key to watching these closing 90 seconds for me is how fast Empire move. You're in a 5 versus 3, guys. You have been since the 2-minute mark. You need to act fast.
Citizen's also been lit all the way down to 20 HP there, and Pegu as well. Oh my goodness, this is a very weakened G2. If Empire lose this round, it comes out of something wild, but Scyther, he says, well, good night, Pegu. I'll finally put you into the ground, and a beautiful weapon skin to match. And now it's a 5v2 and barely a 2 if you ask me. G2, well, that's exactly how many members they've got left for this round. Plant will begin. C4 rips into Citizen's hand. This is a great denial, but guess what? He's not planting close enough. Oh, denial does come out, but it's all up to Virtue. He's above. They know exactly where he is, and That's all they wrote. And for a pretty good, fast first round there for Empire, shows us that maybe there's a little bit more confidence here.
Possibly. And I mean, with the 1 kill coming out for G2 in that round being onto someone that couldn't shoot back, it's kind of telling. That was almost a flawless round for them, if not for one of those last second kills coming out. Very convincing from Empire, but from G2, perhaps a little bit too aggressive. And this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you sit too far back and play too defensively, we'll be sitting here saying, guys, you got to get out on the map and do some work. Here they're getting out on the map and trying to do work, maybe a little bit too much of it being shut down. And now it's kind of like, hey, well, actually, guys, dial it back in a little bit. Let's not go too aggressive here in terms of how we're trying to play things out. And maybe heading downstairs into garage and cafeteria is the way to go. You do sometimes see roamers on this site, but I don't expect to see G2 committing to potential early deaths.
Yeah, it's almost like that trend of lobby not working for teams, especially when it's their first site that they choose. I don't know what that's about, but this week's been a little bit of a curse for the consulate teams. And now they'll try downstairs. I always like to see teams who run a Maestro downstairs because the cams in their own right are quite hard to remove, especially when you place them behind the tire of the white van, up on the back pillar. Maybe you've got an ADS or 2 to be able to cover on them. If Wamaya's not banned, that's also something you can use to be able to stop them getting destroyed. And you'll see one there on metal box, and whether or not he'll use another towards the garage door or not. And the trouble with committing so much, he will put it behind white van tire. And the problem with committing both of those cameras that way is if they do a back push, which is not a very common push whatsoever, you don't have a lot of intel that way.
Attacker's objective is to defuse the bomb.
What I'm slightly curious about as well, Jess, is the fact that we're seeing a Buck and a Sledge being brought along together. Now, back in the maybe go back say a year, and I'd say, okay, yeah, very reasonable. There are teams that do this. Buck was kind of more popular than Sledge at the time, but you did sometimes see both brought along from maps like Coastline, like Concert, maybe even Villa, where there was a lot of destruction work to do. And especially with the former two, this one and Coastline, less reliance on hard breaches being required, so you could afford to play that sort of style. But I don't recall the last time I've seen a team running both Sledge and Buck at the same time.
I think they want to ensure not only that they were able to get that soft breach, but they've also got grenades in hand as well. And that's really important, especially when you got to think Malusi's being brought almost 100% of the time now as well. So many Banshees, so many cameras as well. And yikes, 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 yikes. Guess what?
Again.
Deja vu here.
On the clock. It's almost exactly the same as last time. And it's even Shepard finding the opening kill, which is the worst part. Who died first there, by the way? I was taking notes.
Oh, Kanto Just, I believe.
Aye, Kanto it is. If you're wrong, then I'm blaming you.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It was really close together. One of them was down from obviously the balcony there, and that was just a really quick pick-off. I think if you're going to roam, there's 2 rules you need to follow. 1, be close enough to refrag or be refragged, and 2, if they're sending more than 3 people, you need to time delay. Don't commit, time delay. That's too many people to take one-on-one.
Either way, it puts us in that same situation as last round, and we saw the same coming out of Empire, where despite being in this huge advantage, it did take them another 60 seconds or so before they started catching a couple more kills. But those kills went their way to the stage. It became a 4 versus 1, with the penultimate player left alive on the side of Empire, leading to a trade. And then a very easy closeout for them. And I said at the time, it felt like it should have been a flawless round, but was just shy of it, because the only kill that went the way of G2 was the member that was going for the plant. Here, this is focused out towards the garage door, and it gets shot from above. This is the problem when you conceded all the control of top floor already because your roamers are dead. You are going to be very, very restricted in terms of where you can actually play on the downstairs. Pengu catches down, which is something for G2. It's something positive for them, but he's down to half HP, being challenged at the top of the Visa stairs. One still lurking close. Is he going to try and push this one aggressively? I think he will. It's Joystick versus Pengu, but no one looking to pick up the kill just yet. Even with that smoke canister coming out, Pengu now finds an excuse to rotate his way back up the stairs. Pops yet another one out. It seems every single angle they want to try and crawl away. G2 are finding there's a bit of resistance, and there is a member of Empire waiting.
Yeah, and there's also stun zooming down. They know he's close, but no ADS means that Joystick goes down. Not been having a very good season, but that's okay. Scyther picks up the slack here, and it means that the plant will go down. Now it's all up to a 50 HP Pengu, all on his lonesome SMG in hand. That's a lot of work, if you ask me, and he does go down really quite low. If I'm Empire right now, I don't even really bother peeking. I just go, hey, let's just wait it out until he comes, but he took too long for Scyther's liking, and well, that's another very convincing round for Empire. Should we be a little bit wary, though? And in fact, we have to be, because we made this mistake last stage and this stage, that we put all of our pennies into a box and we say, yep, this team's looking this team's looking excellent, and then we get to the second half and they absolutely lose it, and vice versa. We saw that with G2 the other day.
Yes, you've just about to take the point from me there. Yeah, Na'Vi versus G2. Na'Vi were up 5-1 at the half on defense, looked absolutely sublime. Blur and Joe, the two new players, absolutely shining. We switch sides, and G2 takes 6 rounds in a row to win the game. Go figure. It's very hard to write off until we've seen it change rounds. So G2 fans, don't be too disheartened. I know lots of you like to swarm in when these games are on. Give it a bit of time, give it a bit of breathing room, and maybe on the attack you'll see them shine, or maybe they figure out in this first half what's going wrong. Twice in a row now we've called out the fact they have lost those 2 members very early on in both rounds, and has led to a huge disadvantage taking place for the rest of the round. Hopefully here, stay alive a bit longer. Don't try and go so aggressive on towards windows upstairs. Maybe we'll see a different outcome.
I said from the beginning, it's a huge strength of Empire to do that admin take. In fact, I can remember all the way back to when I was a coach, they were good at doing an admin take from the windows. So I think if you can identify that the team's strength is repels or dual repels, with consideration of drone zooming in as well, then maybe that's where you don't take those engagements. Even that one jump out was punished so severely by 2 of those players. It would, to me, spell disaster if I'm challenging them on any kind of repel. So wait until they're in, wait until they're stalling themselves out, which they have been, and you pointed out, and then try and delay. I think that's probably a better tactic here for G2, and I'm hoping to see that.
No early spawn peaks. I mean, admittedly, they haven't been super early by that 45-second mark, at least in the opening 20 seconds or so. There hasn't been someone standing in a window for G2, which is a small positive to take from it. I say that. You got Uno already trying to challenge onto the Visa window. Honestly, if someone was at that window and killed him, then I would have just been like, right, guys, that's it. Everyone is now locked in sight. No one is allowed out. These are the rules. No more of this.
Some really well hidden cams there, but of course they won't be able to provide the intel that G2 are looking for, I think, especially late. And I think the good thing about Citizen being able to waste some of those drones is that he has what I would consider to be some of the greatest game sense on G2. In fact, he was one of the highest rated players in stage 1 for G2. And I think that comes out of the fact that he knows when to say no. He knows when to back out and when not to take the fight. And getting those drones and collecting them early on throughout, I guess, the early round here or half round mark is enabling his team to stay safer for a little bit longer. So smart decision. And now it means that Shepard will kick off things yet again.
Yet again, that's the 3rd round in a row he's killed someone, and every single time it's been, I say it's nearly, no, that's a lie. Uno he killed back in the 1st round as well. This one's a little bit slower, so it's not as fast, but it's still, once again, members of G2 getting a little bit handy and a little bit aggressive and finding themselves caught out by the beast that is Shepard. Literally, as I sat there in the pre-game saying, hey, his game on Monday, guy's a little bit quiet. He didn't have any more sheep left in the field. There was nothing really for him to be doing. Last week, he popped off big time alongside Scooter, whereas Monday was all about Scooter, the man you saw on your screen just a second ago. Today, both of them are stepping in and even getting other members of the team involved at the same time.
This has been a really horrific game for Kanto so far. He hasn't been able to have almost any impact other than maybe a tiny bit of that time denial. Other than that, him as a Jaeger as the main fragger there for G2 has had little to no impact and is putting a lot of pressure on these site players. You've got, the roof being opened up above you round after round after round now, and it's just so damaging. And Joystick finally has been able to show his prowess there. And who was that against? That was a Virtue. That was the Maestro player. I think Pegu's been the most impactful for these first few rounds.
He has, but with him putting all his focus in towards the garage, it just gives Joystick the agency to finally push down those Visa stairs, where he lost the challenge last time, and have a big impact. A couple of kills for himself to close the round out, and, well, Empire are on a roll. 3 rounds back-to-back, and after Press and Lobby has failed, Garage and Cafeteria has failed twice. Do we now see G2 heading up to the top floor? Yes, we do. As a quick note, by the way, Jess, when we were in that little pre-match segment on the desk, and I said, please, someone send me a picture. R6Olo on Twitter has sent me a screen grab, and it is hilarious. I'll go to sleep looking at this picture tonight.
Oh, so you like going to bed with nightmares? You're a weirdo, but, I accept.
It's like, I like to end the day smiling and laughing, and I think it's the best way to do it.
Look, if you're wondering exactly what Des, my cute, and I say that with as much sarcasm as possible, my cute brother is referencing, I tried to do a resident sleeper face, tried to replicate it in the pre-segment. I don't think it went that well, and of course, screenshots galore, and here we are, so...
Infinite Ewok did it as well. He got a version of it too.
Oh, I hope it turns into a moat, because you know what? I'm not one of those people that cares, if I make a funny face or whatnot, but you know what I do care about? I don't think the clash is the answer here. I think they haven't been able to withhold the aggression, or rather than aggression, the really good placement of Empire on this map, and they're getting Kanto picked off early, Uno picked off early, we even saw Citizen picked off as well at points. I don't think a clash is the answer, but it is top floor, and direct access to site is probably what's worrying them. We spoke about the strength of repel from Empire, so now, will this aggression work? They've given Uno the Jaeger this time. Is that the play?
I kind of think it is. I mentioned in their last game on Monday that in the first week, he was top-rated player in both of their games. That's just how quiet G2 have been, because no flame to Uno, he has always been the quieter member of the team. He's been the IGL, he's been sat in the backline whilst the others all frag out. It's kind of how we know this to always be. And when you have your quietest player being the top fragger on your team across both fixtures, that's telling you something about the rest of the team. But I like here how they're adapting to that and saying, Uno, look, you've done work for us already. Let's get you on a more fragging-based role. We'll give Kanto that long-range ACOG. And Pengu, let's make him invincible. Let's stick him behind a shield like we know he can do on attack and see what he can achieve with that. We'll see if this works out for them, but I like at least that they are trying different things here and cycling things around, because they've acknowledged in those first 3 rounds, things have not gone to plan.
Well, last 2 times that G2 has played this map, they've won. So technically, and that's since June, of course, so technically they have a 100% win rate. However, the top floor is one of their worst floors. So no wonder they were trying to avoid it for so long. Their win rate is not very good whatsoever. In fact, they've lost it almost the most outside of Garage and Cafeteria, which is actually their most lost bomb site. So I think for them, this is not a primary bomb site for them, not something that they enjoy playing that much, but Virtue's already down to 25 HP. It seems like these players of G2 are barely walking away with their lives, and then they get finished not long after.
Well, good thing they got a Kanto on site. Guess what he's going to do? Step into the corridor and juice Virtue up. There we go. Back up to full HP he is. Not a problem at all. No idea what you're on about, Jess. He was never in a firefight. Pengu being challenged up on the stairs, mind you, and there comes the first smoke canister out to try and keep Pengu alive. He's down to about 5 HP. There's one upstairs, and there comes another juice shot coming out of that dock. The dock has gone down, and because he's used all 3 of those, he can't get himself back up here. 2 kills flying with Uno opening it up onto Always. Otherwise, it's back and forth, and now into a 2 versus 2.
Yeah, I don't believe he has any
1v3.
stims. Yeah, he doesn't have any stims left, neither for Pengu or himself, so they'll stay down because there's no way that Virtue can pick them up without being in a line of fire. He does actually manage to pick him up and barely walks away with his life. Really good managing of time there, but Dan and Scyther come zooming from the other side. And this is what I'm talking about when I said that Empire has really good positioning specifically here on Consulate, is that they always know what angles to hold to maximize or have the most advantageous angles to cut rotates. When you're thinking about holding spiral stairs, there's about 3 different angles you can see from there that cut almost every single rotate back to site. So if you've got that presence, you've got projector balcony presence, you also might have a vending machine presence, and then they were trying to get that yellow stairs control, and it just spread G2's attention too thin. And what happens then is, well, of course, Empire can take advantage of that person after person after person. I can understand what they were trying to do with the clash. That's actually a really meta strat, to have them holding off on the yellow stairs there. The grenades won't affect so much, have a dock behind you to juice you up consistently. But if you can't do that, then what changes are they going to make this round, Des, to really make this work?
Well, the answer apparently, Jess, the big brain change we're looking for is none. Nothing has changed compared to last round in terms of setup. They've literally changed nothing. Between rounds 2 and 3, defending downstairs, they did change out the Legion for a Valkyrie.
Right.
That's the only variation we have seen between successive site losses so far for G2. So clearly they feel it's more coming down to the fact they're losing these gunfights. Maybe there's a slight positional change they've got to make here. That last round was the closest they've had, bringing it into a 3 versus 3. And then although it did look like it was going to be a close 3v3, turns out a couple of members are actually down and injured. Right idea, just not quite the right level of execution. And I'm concerned now that in the next couple of rounds, that story is going to carry on being exactly the same. The one thing I will get to G2 is, again, let's not forget what happened against Na'Vi. They were down 5-1 and then went on to win 6 rounds in a row. Let's give them time. We'll see how the attack goes before we form a snap judgment. I'm just hoping for their sake, this does not turn into a 7-0.
I think asking a team to repeat a comeback, you know, a reverse sweep, 2 play days in a row is a bit much. Obviously, my prediction is on G2, and I want them to do well. And I've always really enjoyed watching Empire, especially back in their heyday. And I mean, as a caster especially, you always want all teams to do well because it leads to a very exciting match. But right now, it's not a match, it's a massacre, and I don't even think we're legally allowed to put this on Twitch. So it's not looking good for G2, like you said. They do, I think that might have been a counter that they've input there and made sure that Virtue had an ADS next to him, because last time, either it was from the double windows or it was from Bathroom, he didn't have one and he got put down to about 25 HP. So they are adapting, they're just micro adaptations that we didn't really see.
The small things in these rounds, more down to the gunfights, nothing much more advanced than that. Just got to find something here. Pull something out of the bag, boys. But again, you're peeking unnecessarily and getting yourself tagged out. Citizen trades one back onto Dan, putting us into 4 versus 4. And that's the smoke being picked off early. The crucial one worth mentioning. The fact that you lose that, it doesn't prevent anyone rushing up the stairs now to be able to contest onto the clash. That in itself, I think, is the biggest weakness for them. Pengu here needs to be careful because last round, you got put down to about 5 HP when someone pushed up the stairs and was only saved from the sledge by a smoke grenade coming out. Aww. Here he is again, down to 5 HP. And as I say it, no one's there to stop him getting rushed up. Always pushes up and catches him this time. This is unfortunate, and this yellow stairs hold has been shattered for the side of G2.
Why fully reinforce the Bathroom when, one, you need someone there to buff up the clash if you're going to commit the yellow stairs push, and if you're going to isolate him there, where's the help? Where's the assistant? Was Virtue it? Was that really it? I'm not impressed by what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of 1v1s here from G2, and they're losing almost every single one. They've got to change something here.
Something's got to happen, but this time it's Shepard trying to go in for a plant. It's about to get completed and down. This looks like it's going to be a 5th successive round for the side of Empire. You got Scooter lurking around inside a Bathroom. Swings out to find one. Joystick another from the window. It's all down to Uno, the player that I mentioned has been so big for them in the last week. Will find one, but has got to find so much more. You've got one on the roof, one up on the window. Will go for the fight. Doesn't manage to win it out against Joystick, I believe. That is up there once more. He's down to a slither of HP. A single bullet is going to be enough to take him out here, but I think time is going to be his greatest enemy. 15 seconds remaining. There's 2 lurking around the windows here. He's trying to bait it out. There is almost nothing left to do. Gonna fly and spray in. It's Joystick to collect the kill onto Uno. G2 are down 5 rounds in a row. This is absolutely terrifying. I thought coming in today, we'd see a little bit of a scrappy affair, given how these two teams have played so far. But this feels like day number 1 once again, where Empire crushed Rogue. It's a repeat once more, yet it feels even worse for the side that's losing.
I'm trying to think of something redeeming to say, other than the fact that, okay, those micro adaptations I was talking G2 made to try and give longevity to the life of the smoke, but there wasn't much. They tried to repeat. I'm not sure whether or not there was actually a rotate from Bathroom to top yellow last time, and that's how the doc was feeding those thins through to Pengu. I believe there was. And this time they said, no, too dangerous. They took yellow too well, closed it all up. But by doing that, you left Pengu isolated. And when you're an isolated clash like that, all you could do is zip, zip, zip the whole time. I mean, that's not really much, is it? And then just say, hey, no. I got 3 people on me. That doesn't really do much. So again, G2 down on numbers, putting a lot of pressure on those last players. And when you're under so much pressure, you're not always going to make the most valuable decisions, and you're not always going to be able to make the decision you would have if you had other players there to assist you. It's leaving G2 in dire situations round after round. This 5-0 is a little bit unbelievable to me, because after their last game, I thought G2 might be back in form a little bit, but this is making it seem like I analyzed completely incorrectly.
Ooh. You know, I just thought, Jess, in fact, no, it's okay because they didn't lose. I remember you saying on the desk, or at least on the cast, I think it was, for Na'Vi versus G2, if G2 lose here today, I'm never voting for them again, or something to that effect. And they did win. It was a very close win, admittedly. And maybe, does this now shatter your hopes? Does the prediction for G2 now fall away and never come back again?
It's a harsh reality that I think I have to face, that G2, at least in this stage, are not playing anywhere near the G2 I know, and I think at some point I have to admit that, yes. Yep.
That sounds like the most painful admission of truth I think I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
they've got Rogue next, it's worth mentioning, Virtus Pro the week after, and then step in to come up against Chaos. So next week is looking rough. I don't know. Two tough games. We'll see how they deliver. Rogue maybe looking a bit shaky themselves. So it'll be another Empire versus G2 style game, I think, where we'll see which Rogue turns up on the day. Kicking things off inside the first 60 seconds, not really a whole lot has gone down. A few drones have been trickled away from the side of Empire by G2, but nothing really worth shouting home about. It's about these longer angles, and for the first time this game, we're going to see a member of G2 getting the opening kill. It's Citizen with a C4.
Well, look at this. They're finally getting their kills back. It's a bit of revenge, but it's late revenge. But we want to see that continue. When you've got a man advantage like this, especially a two-man advantage over your opponent, there should be no reason why you don't win, especially when you're on defense. Now that the half round mark has elapsed, Virtue will also get his own, and this is great. This should be around here. One round for the first half for G2 at least, and maybe it spells a little bit of a comeback. I don't want to say it too quickly, but that jump out there shows me that G2, oh, maybe they're feeling things now. Maybe they had a chat. That flawless round, come on, that's going to lead to something here, Des.
I mean, all I'm saying is it was 5-1 against Na'Vi, and we all know how that game ended in the bitter end of things. This, it could be the turnaround. Let's not get too excited because 5-1 is still a very tall mountain to ascend. And for a team, you said to me, I think before the broadcast, or even maybe back at the start of us two casting this game together, for a team to be expected to reverse sweep in that style twice in a row, that is a tall order, a very, very tall order. All we've really got to see is the side of Empire get this right once, and a draw at the very least is guaranteed. All they've got to do is catch a couple of members of G2 out with something crazy early on in a round, and the whole dream falls apart. But let's hope for themselves, for the fans out there, of course, watching for G2, that they can do this. Sixth pick in for the Amaru, and I'm wondering here, are G2 taking some inspiration from what teams like Temper have been doing on this map with that operator?
Or maybe they're going to take a Corey-esque vibe to it and just shoot straight up to Yellow Scarlet and catch someone off guard. I don't know. I mean, I really love seeing Amaru used in multiple ways. My favorite is the, up the piano hatch, get a plant off, and then just zoom straight back down or go all the way up to the skylight. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But the site's going to be downstairs. So they predicted the site incorrectly to begin with. That's okay because the top floor used to be the site that everyone thought was their primary, but over time, all the stats showed that it was actually the most lost site. I'm wondering if that's sample size. I'm wondering if that's just attackers really working out how to attack top floor because they've had an opportunity in both scrims and official matches to play it so much, and maybe that's why that statistic came out that way. But Citizen won't really be able to do much here with the Amaru, which is a bit of a shame.
Out for those naughty spawn peaks, boys. We've all been victim of these when playing in ranked games, I'm sure, on Consulate, of walking out in front of a window and finding, hey, we're getting sprayed down. This ain't such a fun time. 3 of us are dead. What the hell just happened? Sure enough, there's one with Chikanto catching out onto Scooter. Good start for them to shut down the Jaegerus on that roaming game, and if they can start repeating the sort of damage we saw being dished out against G2 in the first half, where both of their roamers are being killed super early on, this could look like a very promising half for G2.
Well, didn't look like there was any wall denial there because there's no wall denial operators, so they'll get that half of the wall opened up very early. Pengu's job here, and of course Virtue's, I should say, to make sure that that gets opened up ASAP. It looks like they want to make a very quick entry in as well. There's no reason that the Ash should have the diffuser in hand and be right up on the site entry. That's exactly what it looks like they want to do. They'll open up the left-hand side of panel 3. No impact trick, and actually will end up coming out and stopping that, so it's only a line of sight. Maybe they want to go for a fast plant here.
I'm always worried, and I've always touched on it. G2's drone economy, 3 drones left with just under 2 minutes still to play. That is a lot to have lost at this point. Now, if you can trust yourself to do some damage with just coming in and winning gunfights, fine. But the amount of information you are now going to lack when trying to go for this execute could quite literally be deadly. The worst part of it all is being that Always and Dan between them have got so much information out there, and this is the problem when you've got no flank drone set up to be able to watch things like the yellow stairs rotates. Joystick can spring up and bring down a member like Citizen, no problem at all.
That was a really good read on the situation there. He was aware that he was watching Bench's window, and Pengu, how much did he get zapped there? Quite a lot.
That's entirely from an evil eye. 10 shots straight into him.
Jesus, does he not have any Ash charges left? Did they get eaten up? What happened? Were they used for banshees? I mean, what is this utility usage? I'm questioning a lot of things here. I saw him cooking those ADSs before with his flashes. And there we go, he'll cook another one. Surely a grenade can come soaring in. Someone has to be able to deal with this because a Banshee is still there.
The thing is, though, I'm sure Empire know that there are 3 members all now trying to push in here through the garage door, and that's where all of G2 have gathered up. There is no one playing up above. There's no one looking to do anything too crazy elsewhere around the map, so all they've got to do is sit and wait. There are 30 seconds to go. G2 need to get this execute coming in soon, but my God, is it going to be painful when they have nothing left, and there we go. That Alder goes brrr, gas down the one member of Pengu. There's nothing left to come from the other 2 right now, trying to find something, anything, to keep the dream alive, and don't see this game go to potentially a draw, but more likely than not a loss. You're going to see Always step forward, finds another one through the smoke. There's one left alive. It's all down to Virtue in a 1 versus 4. That's Always with a triple kill to close out the round, and Empire guarantee at least a point from this game. And for G2, their problems this season only start to look even more deadly to them.
Oh no. I mean, to lose to Team Secret in week 1 of stage 2, 7-2, their problems already looked dire. The next week, or the next play day, I should say, a draw against Team Vitality. Okay, no problems, they score 1 point. The next play day, they win, and I think to myself, okay, G2 are coming back, here we go. Now, we're either seeing a 7-1 here, or they win the next 5 rounds in a row and they score themselves a draw. Either way, stage 2 looks way, way more, I don't know, I don't want to say awful because
confusing,
it is.
Open.
Yeah, it's just, it's absolutely confusing to me that I can pull up stage 1, pull up stage 2, look at G2 from both of those stages as it currently exists, and it's not like we're only 2 games in. We're into the 2nd week of playdays here. There's only 9 weeks of it. So if by the 3rd week, G2's not pulling their weight, then something seriously is wrong. They're enough points up that they're not going to face relegation unless Chaos, I don't know, does something miraculous. And that's good, but it means that they're going to lose so many points. And a lot of people don't understand that with the new system. That's what teams are looking for. Otherwise, you're just skating through EUL, doing not much else.
That's the biggest fear for me, is given how fast this season is. Let's not forget, it's a 4.5 week long season, 9 play days. We are at the end of 2 now, and with G2 now being down, having the miserable start that they have, admittedly improved slightly by a wonderful opening kill like that from Kanto onto Joystick, who equally hasn't been having the best of times recently. Like I say, 4 games in, we are basically just at that halfway point of the season. The question then starts coming is, okay, we all can sit here all we like and say, these teams have got to step up now. These players have got to start showing up. When does that stop becoming an excuse or a request for these teams, and we just say these things are not looking good right now and I don't know how they fix them?
Yeah, look, I don't really have the answer right now because there's so many different ways I've seen G2 play. You know, 2 days before I saw them play a completely different way to how I'm seeing them play now. So it is confusing. I think that's the word. And I think G2 fans could probably sit there and, if I am a G2 fan, or advice to those G2 fans is to not give up on them. I think having a rough first couple of weeks is probably not very indicative of the team overall, because they did do fairly decent in stage 1. I mean, they made it to the major, the mini major as well. So if you're making that top 5, you've still got a lot that you can give. There's just something holding them back, and I don't know how long that will take to really unlock.
Well, either way, with the small advantage at the side of this round, you've got some hope for the side of G2. Applying the right pressure onto the top floor right here, so much so that Dan is skittering around like a bug, and oh my god, swings out and finds Pengu, who maybe should have been watching that a little more intently, but here, that's the diffuser down. Someone's now going to get themselves up onto that balcony and collect it if they are going to try and execute, and they still need to unseat Dan from inside of this room. Here from Copy, we're seeing the ace opening everything up, which means Dan is going to drop away, so meeting no longer such a strong hold point for them. They don't even manage to find him through the window here. Outside Anti, as Citizen, is watching the wrong spot.
When you're trying to flush someone out, especially after Pengu dies on the upward, the upside down rappel, generally what you'll have someone do from the attacking side is be watching the drop from the lobby double doors. The lobby double doors are fully closed, so the defenders can be almost certain that there's no pressure coming from there. Even if they had just opened up the lobby double doors, made it seem like there was some perceived pressure there, that could have done something. But they were able to drop freely, and here we go, another jump out. Okay, Citizen can get that one clap back, but the trade comes straight back in.
Jumps in, looks straight at the camera, and gets tagged by Dan for free. Like, what is that? A little bit questionable in terms of the execute there coming out from Citizen. I call it an execute. The only thing he was executing was himself. Uno picks up a kill onto Always, and Dan, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to bring this one to Empire here and now and close it out at 7-1. Otherwise, we're looking down the barrel of a 6-2. Uno's going for the plan, and my God, Dan hits the wonder shot, makes it a triple kill. Must know that Uno's going for the plan. I mentioned how well he played last week. Can he get the kill? Swings around and finds it. Uno keeps G2's dream alive. That's what you need from a player that I spoke about last week. The consistency that he brought, stepping up here as well to make sure that G2 don't go out with only one round on the board.
Oh, there's just a lot going on in these rounds that it's hard to be able to say great things about the team, even though they won the round. And we should be applauding them, going, yes, G2, this is the comeback we want. Can you repeat what you did merely 2 days ago? Bring it back, and at least you won't get the win this time, but you'll at least walk away with 1 point. And I mean, I am asking things like, okay, 2 days ago against Na'Vi, Pengu did not play Ash. He played Thermite and Smoke. Now, okay, the map is different and it's Clubhouse and it requires multiple hard breaches, etc. But then if I go back and I go, okay, what about the match before that on Oregon? Or what about the match before that on Cafe? What did Pengu play? What was his role? He played Ace, another hard breach, and Smoke. What did he play on the other map? He played Ace and Smoke. Not once have we seen him in a main fragger role. What is the discussion? Is it, boys, do whatever you have to do? Take whatever you want to take because what we're doing doesn't work? Or what is it that's going on now?
It's a horrible thing, I guess, with Siege, and I guess really with any sport, is that or even esport, you can't understand what goes on behind the scenes for a lot of these teams. Like, I'm sure we'd all love to be the fly on the wall in that TeamSpeak room, the Discord room, whatever it is the teams are sat in, normally TeamSpeak, and just hear the kind of conversations that are going back and forth. What issues have they got right now? What isn't working for them week to week? How is the communication inside the team? What are the plans they're working on to try and improve it? There's so much insight that we don't get that I wish there was a way we had access to, but alas, they'd be giving away all of their trade secrets if that were the case. Either way, somehow G2 have managed to bring themselves a couple of rounds back here with that scrap in the end of the first half, and the second round is the second to go. That's 1 for 1 so far with G2 on the attacking side. The prior round coming down to Always with a massive 3K at the end, and G2 with nothing but a hope and a dream in trying to get through the garage door. And the last round, of course, was Uno's 1v1 win against Dan, who found a 3K in that round. So it's coming down to the wire so far, and this is where I have some concerns, is these couple of rounds that we've seen G2 take. I wouldn't say have looked particularly... Well, not the last round, sorry, it didn't look very decisive.
Yeah.
The former round, sure, it was flawless. It was like G2 had just thought, okay, round 5, it's time for us to actually wake up now, go into round 6, flawless round them. Wonderful. We've got to see that repeat across more rounds, though, and that is my concern, that we might not see that.
Well, whatever we see, it has to be a round win here from G2, and it has to be repeated another 4 times. Otherwise, this match is all over, and it's Empire's points in the hand. And actually, if you ask me, these are points more needed for Empire than they are for G2. Everyone knows Empire, they're getting pretty close to relegation. They desperately need these points. So I'm kind of happy for them, but I'm also sad for G2 that this is looking like yet another pitfall, another downfall for them, and one that probably isn't deserved.
Think about the pain it creates for other players or other teams as well. Chaos, who are watching Secret shooting up the table. They've seen Tempera get a couple of draws so far. Empire having a surprising win over Rogue and potentially here about to beat G2. That relegation battle becomes so much more dire for Chaos based on results like these. And my God, are you sweating if you're a Chaos player or Batroom member of staff right now? Either way, Shepard being the opening kill, just like in the last round. It's G2 finding the opening kill. Citizen this time striking big on that Amaru, which we thought had been pretty quiet so far. They find something. Same story once more for Kanto picking up Dan. 5 versus 3, and this is starting to look like the inverse, Jess, where it was constantly G2 stuck in a 5 versus 3. The last couple of rounds have switched around to Empire being stuck in a 5 versus 3.
If you're Empire, you cannot be complacent now. I know they have to win 4 rounds in a row, but you have to turn around and say to the boys, nah, we play this as serious as we play the first round, the last round. It doesn't matter how many rounds up we are, and bullet holes won't be enough there for Scyther. And I know the Russian saying is Scooter, but I'm going to stick to the OG Scyther, and it's all up to Always and Joystick here. They trade, I believe. Yes, they do. And now it's all up to Joystick. 25 seconds left. He could deny the plant, but I think there's a little bit too much pressure alive on G2 now.
Yeah, it's a little bit much to do, I think, here for Joystick all by himself. And yes, I know, criticised him a couple of times. Today's been a good day for him. That's also a pretty big one, given the fact that we're down to 10 seconds and he smokes it out as well. All he's got to do is live, but he's got 5 bullets left. Has to go for the reload. Does anyone even know where he is here? They have the diffuser back in their hands. That smoke has now been recovered away. Citizen goes down as well. Joystick, you're basically in a glorified 1v1 for a few seconds. Can he get it? No way does he get it! How on earth have they let that happen? Joystick, 3 big kills at the end, and G2 on the path to recovery cannot pick a safe spot, and Joystick crushes their dreams, and it looks like the Empire strikes back. 2 wins, or 1 win in 10. This now becomes their 2nd in 11. What a shocking close to that game. G2, boys, you got to get yourself out of those doldrums, but my God, am I impressed by Empire today.
4 versus 1 around deadly need of